Hi everyone, I'm really excited to share my progress with you today because I've made a good amount and I'm really happy with how far I've gotten. I did finish The Last Olympian by Rick Riordan, and I've kind of decided before I'd gotten all the way through this book that I wouldn't be rereading the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series again, just based on the fact that it's written for a much younger audience and it's a lot more enjoyable to a younger audience, and I'm kind of growing out of that age range. However, The Last Olympian itself, this last book in the series, was the most enjoyable. One of my favorite things about Rick Riordan and the Percy Jackson series is he takes really intense situations and serious situations and puts them in a relatable or easygoing setting. So for example, there was a battle and there was a parley, and that took place in a park, on a park bench. There was talk of the swings nearby and things like that, it's just, and I think that's part of what makes it enjoyable to young readers, is we can visualize it a little bit better than a high fantasy. The next book that I started was Salt to the Sea by Rita Sepetys, and I finished this already. I was pretty excited and I loved it. This is a 5-star book for me. It was really good. It's a historical fiction. The little blurb on the back says, "The forgotten tragedy that was 6 times deadlier than the Titanic." It takes place in World War II, and it was a really incredible book. It was more intense than I was expecting, and there was a lot of dark things in it, but it's the fact that these dark things were historically based, and it's events and situations that we need to recognize happened. That being said, if you're a younger reader or you don't enjoy reading this type of thing for pleasure, for fun, I would recommend looking at some of the content before you jump right into that, because it is pretty serious stuff sometimes, and it's hard to take in. Part of the reason it's so hard and so much different than a history book is you're taking a story and you're becoming emotionally connected to it, and when things happen to these characters, it makes it that much harder to read and to experience because you have that emotional connection. This is personally my favorite way to learn history because of that personal connection. I remember so much more. So this was a really good book. I had so much fun reading the additional stuff in the back, which was interviews with some of the people she got her sources from. It is historical fiction, and I think it's very close. It's not a loose historical fiction either. There's not a lot of fiction in here. It's more historical than fiction, I think. And, the characters are fictionalized, and some of their events are fictionalized, but overall, I think this is a really great historical fiction, and definitely a 5-star review for me. I don't know what I'm going to be starting next. I may take a little break and read a little bit of Little Women or All Things Bright and Beautiful, which is still sitting by my bed. So yeah, we'll see what I decide to jump into. I just finished this like half an hour ago before filming this, and so I'm kind of still in book withdrawal, and I'm not ready to choose another book quite yet, but I'll get there soon.
Well, so last time we talked, I had told you that I would be starting Dawn of Wonder, and I started it. I am on chapter 19, 186 pages in, that's right there. And so far I have done something with this book that I don't normally do, and that is predict that it's going to be a 5-star read. It's so good. One of the best, so from the front of the cover, you'd think that, okay, that's probably 17 to 20-year-old, somewhere in there. The MC is almost 13. The story isn't about a 13-year-old or a 12-year-old boy. It's about a boy who happens to be 13 or happens to be 12. And it's so good, it's so interesting, it's so well written. There's a chance that it will be my favorite read of the year. And that's really saying something, because I've read, or I will, by the end of the year, I'll have hopefully read 5 Brandon Sanderson books. So to say that a book that's, I believe, self-published, I haven't checked yet, but to say that a random book that is not very popular, not very well known, is my favorite read of the year, that's pretty impressive. What can I tell you about this book? So it's about a 13-year-old, or almost 13-year-old boy named Aiden. It starts out with him and his best friend in their little out-of-the-way village, you know, classic hero's journey type stuff, where a threat of slavers arrives at their village, and so they're all preparing for the slavers. Lots of things happen that I'm not going to talk about because it will get into spoilers very quickly. It is so interesting, it's so well written. Of course there's things that aren't done as good as like a Sanderson book, but there's some things that I feel are done better, which is pretty cool. I've loved the book so much. There's so much environment. It's a high fantasy if I didn't make that clear, and if you couldn't tell from the title and the cover, but it's so good. I'm gonna try and convince Kate to read it after I finish it, especially if I end up loving it as much as I think I'm going to. About a quarter of the way through this book now, I think. And it's so good so far. Like, there's a couple things that I didn't love them, but they actually make sense with the story. So, like, I'm not having any issues with it. The biggest thing that I'm thinking of is the threat of slavers. Ooh, it sounds so terrible, you know, and I understand that that is a horrible thing and it shouldn't be done, but it just felt so low stakes for this type of book. But the way it was executed was amazingly well done, and because it was to a small village, it makes sense that it would be a major threat to them. So yeah, I have nothing bad to say about the book at this point in my reading of it. This is getting kind of long and rambly, so I'm going to leave it at that, and I will update you in a little while, couple days, see where I'm at from there.
I wanted to do one really fast update. I haven't made a whole lot of progress since I finished Salt to the Sea. I picked up Little Women a couple times, and I'm just working really slowly through that. It's a lot of fun, and I'm having fun reading it. I might switch to audiobook so I can make some decent progress while reading another book, and I will see if I can get an audiobook right now, or if I'll have to wait for a while. We'll see. I think I'm going to read The Burning Bridge. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Okay. I think I might read The Burning Bridge, the second book in the Ruined Ranges Apprentice series. And yeah, that's my plan.
Alright, so really quick update. I don't even have my book with me because it's going to be so fast. I have read about 2 chapters, I believe, since last time we talked, and so I don't really have a whole lot to update you with. I'm, of course, still really enjoying it, but I just haven't made a whole lot of progress, so I don't really have much to say about it. I just didn't get time to read this past couple of days, and I really wish I could, but I didn't. So that's it. I will talk to you guys later.
Hello friends! I am this far way through the book, so about 2/3 of the way through the book, and I am really loving it. So the first time I read Little Women, part of the reason why I loved it so much was because of the image it created in my mind as I read it. It was so vivid, and you feel the story and you see the story more than you actually seem like you're reading it. And I was concerned that if I listened to an audiobook, I wouldn't be able to experience it that same way. Well, I decided to listen to it on an audiobook because I wasn't having time to sit down and read this thick tome here. And I am very impressed. There was a lot of different readers that I could have chosen for Little Women, and the one I chose is perfect for me, and I'm enjoying it so much. It's creating a picture in my mind, and it's different than last time. The picture is, and I'm catching different things, but I really, really do like it. And it's so refreshing to read such an innocent and sweet book, especially after some of the darker ones that I've gotten through, or ones with really hard, difficult things in them. It's just very refreshing. And I didn't do a midweek update. I apologize, there wasn't really much to talk about, so just to clarify. Alright, we will see you guys in a couple weeks.
Alrighty. So, reading update. First off, I chose not to do a midweek update, kind of by choice, kind of by happenstance, in that I didn't get to it. Truthfully though, at midweek, on Wednesday, I did not have that much read since the last time I gave an update, so it wasn't really worth me giving an update. But now at the end of the week, I am on chapter 31 and of Dawn of Wonder. I really wish I could get through this book faster, not because I'm not enjoying it, just because I wish I had more time to spend reading, and I don't. So I'm going through it much slower than I wish I was, but when I get a chance to read, it's so amazing and I love reading it. So, the author of this book, you can clearly see that he did his research. I mean, he went and he explained how to, and this is going to make some people, some potential readers, this would make you not want to read the book. Kate, for example, would be one of those readers, but he went through and figured out processes for building bows, for building swords, for doing all these different things, and he talked you through them. He talked you through the process, explaining it as the characters in the book were doing it. And that was so cool to me that he spent the time to go through and find that much detail. And it wasn't super in-depth, of course. He didn't, it could have been, absolutely could have been, but he chose to make it not super in-depth, but in-depth enough to really show that he did his research. So I'm very impressed with that. There was a cool thing that happened world building wise and magic system wise, and I don't know how it's going to affect anything because I don't know enough about it yet. But I'm really excited for this, and I really can't wait for the rest of the series to come out. Book 2 is not out yet. It's coming out sometime soon. I don't know how soon, but it's coming out sometime. I don't really have a whole lot else to say, so I'll leave it at that, and